Okay, so as I was walking around, I was kind of looking at people's work, and I see some stuff that's good, but I still see some people that are not like trying to factor. When we factor, we have to try to decide what type of problem it is first. I gave you a heads up saying that there was going to be a GCF. Now, I mean, technically right now, that could be considered a complex ABC, and you could do it that way, but then actually it wouldn't matter. In the end, you would still get the same thing. The only issue that I have is when you multiply 3 times 30, you get a big number. But when you take out a GCF, it makes numbers get smaller. And so in my opinion, it makes it easier. So the GCF here would have been 3. So you take out the 3, and then you write this new problem. So you got x squared plus 11x plus 10. So instead of being a complex ABC, bless you, instead of being a complex ABC, now it's just a simple ABC. So in a simple ABC, we use that last number to make the list. And so instead of making the list for 90, we just make the list for 10. And it's a super short list. We're trying to make 11. So it's got to be 1 and 10. Everything's a positive, so both of these are positives. So in a simple, we can go straight to the parentheses. So this is x plus 1, x plus 10, and then we have the 3 in the front. Now again, I was walking around and I saw a handful of people that had this as their answer. They circled it. This is not solving, this is just factoring. The difference between solving and factoring is solving takes it one extra step and tells me what x equals. That's not x equals yet. So we have to set it equal to 0, and then we have to take each one and set each one equal to 0. Anyone know why I skipped the 3? It doesn't have an x, so we don't care about it. So then when we solve this, we subtract 1 from both sides, so we have -1. And then we subtract 10 from both sides, so we end up with -10. So these are our 2 answers. Now, if you had done it the other way, if you did it right, you should have still got the same answer. Even if you didn't take out the GCF, in the end, when you solve, it actually doesn't matter. Last week I showed you these problems that were super long. They were long division. The big thing about long division is it's just an algorithm. It's a series of steps where if you can learn the steps and just repeat it over and over and over, you'll get it right every time. The problem is, because there's so many steps, that means there's a lot of places where people can mess up. So I just have a review question to sort of refresh your mind on how much work this actually was last week. So the stuff up at the top right here where it says think, 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 that's the stack. Remember we said there was 4 steps last week? We stack, we multiply, we change the signs, and then we repeat. We just keep doing it until it runs out. The only thing I don't really like about this is they don't show the step where you change the signs. Right here, this should be a minus, this should be a plus, this should be a plus, this should be a minus, and then this should be a minus, and this should be a plus. Other than that, that's exactly what we did last Friday. Now at the end, I told you that there was a shortcut. There was a faster way to do this, and that's what I'm going to teach you today. The new way is called synthetic division. Now the reason why I didn't show it to you last week is because synthetic division doesn't always work on every question. Synthetic division only works on certain questions. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to tell which question it works on. So I'm going to go over to the next page. Hang on a second. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not ready for this. Did I scoot it over? Actually, I did. So yeah. So let me show you how to set up a synthetic division. Well, let me first tell you when it works. The only time synthetic works is when this guy right here is just a plain x. It can't be x squared. It can't be x to the third. It can't say 5x. It has to just be a regular x. So this right here means we can use synthetic. We can use synthetic. So it has to basically be 1x. That's the only time it's going to work right. So even though we did this problem, or they did this problem doing long division, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same exact question, but we're going to do it synthetically. So I'm going to show you how to set it up. So the thing about synthetic division is you don't use any letters at all. What you do instead is you just use the coefficients, and then It's kind of weird, but it's just it's a pretty quick pattern where it's a bunch of multiply and combine, multiply, combine until you run out. There is one rule that applies from last week, though. You have to have a spot for every exponent. So this has a 3, this has a 2, this has a 1, and then there's an x without a number. I mean, there's a number without an x. If there was a missing exponent, we would have to put a 0 there. So the way we set up synthetic division is we basically take this division symbol and we turn it upside down. And instead of using all of the letters, we just use the numbers in front. So we use 6, negative 19, positive 16, and negative 4. And that, I think, is what's on the next page. So now if you flip it back over. Now I want you guys to also make note of this. In the original problem, I think it said x minus 2. When we do synthetic division, we have to take this number and we have to change its sign. So make sure you change the sign. Change sign. Oh, I don't know what that last stick was. So here's how synthetic division works. The first part is the easiest part. The first number, it just drops straight down. So we get a 6 right here. Now think of this in terms of like long division. This is kind of like the top, right? We just flipped it over. When we put something on top, what do we do with it? Times it. Yeah, that's exactly what we do here. So we're going to take 6 and multiply it by 2, and we're going to put that answer under here. So that's 12. And then we're going to combine like terms. So negative 19 plus 12 is negative 7. Then when we get something down here at the bottom, we multiply it with the 2 again. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. And then we combine. So that gives me 2. Then I take that number and I multiply it with the 2, and that gives me 4. And I combine, and that gives me 0. Now, our highest exponent in that problem on the other page, I'm going to write this down. The highest exponent, we also call that the degree, it was 3. So when we write our answer, I think it was 3. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it was to the 3rd power. So when we write our answer, all we do is take 1 degree off of it. So check this out. This right here, since this is the first one, instead of making it 6x to the 3rd, we take 1 degree off of it and make it 6x squared. And then we just go down from there. So we get 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. And guess what this is, you guys? Yeah, that's the remainder. When it has a remainder, we don't have to write it. But that last number is always the remainder. And if you look at this problem now, this is what we got. If you flip back over to the other side, it's the same exact answer. 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. So that's just proving to you that synthetic division gives you the same exact answer, whether you do it long division or synthetic. It's going to give you the same thing. So I'm going to show that to you maybe a couple more times, and then the rest of the day is going to be yours. So this is the generic pattern that you follow. The first one always drops down. So that 1 comes here. And then we have to multiply it with the negative 3, and that answer goes here. And then we combine, so that gives me negative 3. So this entire process, the first step is drop the first number down, then it's multiply, combine the rest of the way. So now we need to multiply. Negative 3 times 3, positive 9. Negative 10 plus 9, negative 1. And then we multiply again. Negative 1 times negative 3, positive 3. And then we combine. Negative 2 plus 3, positive 1. And then we multiply. 1 times negative 3, negative 3. And then we combine. 4 take away 3, 1. So now we just have to convert this into the final answer. Final answer has to have letters on it. We can't write an answer that just has numbers. So we go and look back at the original problem. The highest exponent was a 4, so I take 1 off of that. So that means this one right here becomes 1x to the third minus 3x squared minus 1x plus 1, and then this last one is always your remainder. And we learned last week that you write the remainder by putting plus 1 over whatever we're dividing by. So we're going to put it over x plus 3. So that would be our final answer. What do you guys think about this? It's easy, right? It's way faster than long division. But again, the only reason we can do it is because of this right here. If that would have said 2x, we can't do it. If it would have said x squared, we can't do it. We have to use long division on those kinds. So I want to pause for a second here, and I want you to try one. Try this one. Huh? What? Basketball. Basketball. Okay, so I think I'm going to do this problem again, just because there's a lot of questions, and maybe I wasn't clear. So let me show you where everything comes from. So the number that we put in front on the outside comes from this right here, except we don't use the -3, we change its sign, so it's a +3. The numbers that go on the inside, they are the coefficients of each term. So coefficient means number in the front. So it's 1, 6, -21, and -18. So inside of here, and by the way, every exponent starting from 3 all the way down is represented, so we don't have to add any zeros to this. So we have 1, 6, -21, and then -18. So then we get into the algorithm, the steps. First step, drop it like it's hot. So we put the 1 right here, then we multiply. So we put the 3 over here. Now, we're not going to change signs because we've already done that. So we just use whatever signs are on the numbers. 6 plus 3 is 9. And then 9 times 3 is 27. -21 plus 27 is 6. And then 6 times 3 is 18. So when we combine, this gives us 0. Now we have to go back and look at the degree of the polynomial. The degree right here is 3. So to write our final answer, we would say x squared plus 9x plus 6. And then the 0 is the remainder, so we don't have to write it when it's 0. So this would be our answer. So that means that r minus 3, it's a factor of the longer polynomial. When it divides evenly and there's no remainder, it means that it's a factor. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be r instead of x?
Yeah, it should. I'm going to make mine capital R's. They look like ribbons. Yeah, hold on. Let me fix that. That bothers me. I should have put R's. If the problem has R's, the answer should have R's. So r squared plus 9r plus 6, that should be the answer. Okay, I'm going to pause just for maybe 30 more seconds for you to try the second one if you haven't, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so hopefully this is what you wrote. The beginning part is the most important part, because if you don't write it correctly, you're obviously going to get it wrong. So on the outside, we take, it says x plus 4, so we put a minus 4 instead. Then the rest of this, I noticed that the degree is 3, but then it skips down to x to the first. So we got to put in a 0 for the x squared. So it's 0, then minus 14, and then 8. So the steps, once you get everything in, first one drops down, so that's just 1. You multiply, that's -4. Combine, -4. Multiply, plus 16. Combine, 2. And then multiply, -8. So this gives you 0 here. That 0 tells us there's no remainder, so there's no need to write a fraction at the end. The degree was x to the third. So I take 1 off of that, so that becomes x squared minus 4x plus 2, and then that's your answer. Did you guys get it right that time? Yeah. So you guys got 30 minutes to practice. Now, you're going to have to pay attention. Pay close attention on the assignment to this. They're not always ready for synthetic. They're going to be mixed up, so you need to pay attention. If it says x squared or x to the third right there in that spot, then you can't do it. You have to do long division. And I'll crank out an answer key real quick so you can check your answers too.